Happy Thursday at Soccer We Trusters. We got a lot to talk about. We got a new FIFA World Cup 26 logo to discuss. We got a U-20 World Cup to discuss. We got a whole bunch of things to discuss. So hit like and subscribe. And let's get after it. Yes! What is up, everybody? Welcome to Tobin, Heath, and Kristen Press's favorite podcast is Soccer We Trust. I'm Hollywood, cream cheese, trash can, Jimmy Conrad Dino, also known as Jim. My nicknames are all over the place, and I'm here with Heartbreak Kid, Hollywood, or the formerly known as Hollywood, Heath Pearce. And Charlie Davis is not with us. I don't know where Charlie is. Nobody knows where Charlie is, but we're pretty sure he's having a good time wherever he is. And we've got a great show for everybody. Lots to talk about, of course. But Heath, how are you feeling about me maybe taking your moniker of Hollywood? With my
and for the record, for people that don't, definitely, you should definitely be Hollywood now. But just for clarification, it's not Heartbreak Kid Pearce, it's the Heartbroken Kid Pearce. Right? For people that think that I'm just out there breaking hearts and just running the show, it's actually my storyline is a lot different than that. But to focus on James, I'm assuming that you were James in the show, like you went with.
So what's interesting. So for everybody that doesn't know, I'm in episode 10 of Ted Lasso. I went and visited the set back in August. There's me with Coach Beard. And they found a way to get me into the show. They take a great deal of pride of having Easter eggs on the show. And it was a tremendous life experience just to go onto the set. And I love it, I think, as much as everybody else out there does. And
but you were there for work.
I was there for work.
You were connecting, and they let you see the set, and then all of a sudden, this light bulb moment happened. I remember you mentioning, "Dude, I'm just trying to get on the show," and you couldn't say anything about it. You wouldn't tell us anything.
That's right, I couldn't say anything.
And so the next step was basically they found a role for you, and I mean, walk me through like how that happened, and then also now for people to know when you get into the edits, like a lot of things actually don't make the show with how much they film. So what's the process to you getting this big W here?
Well, that's a really big W. And that's why I didn't say anything. Well, I couldn't say anything for a while, but I didn't know for sure that I was going to be in. I know that we shot the scene and I knew that I had a close up potentially, but I didn't know to what extent I was going to be seen in the show. So I didn't want to oversell it. But I got in there and I gave a very bewildered face. I looked tired and jet lagged, but man, did I have a hell of a time being tired and jet lagged. So it was awesome. But again, when I saw them and I got the invite to go down to the premiere, I asked the director Matt. They're like, "Oh yeah, you're going to be in." But even then, you don't really believe that you're going to be in because to your point, you never know how it's going to go in editing. If it doesn't fit, then you're out. I will say, one of the coolest things about it was that when I was doing the opposite side of it, when they were doing the close-up on Roy Kent, I was there. Like he was working off of me being there. So to get the stare down from Roy Kent in a couple scenes, a couple takes, was next level. It was really, really next level. So it was a very cool experience. Hey, it's Chuck.
What's up?
What's up, Chuck? How's life, dude?
Chuck's got another TED Talk today based on how he's dressed.
Well, I'm giving the Ted Lasso talk right now, so I give the Ted Lasso talk. But
you had me dying when you said the look from Roy Kent. Oh God,
dude, it's unbelievable. Like that, I can't believe this is real right now. That I'm actually walking down this hall and I have Roy Kent staring me down, and it was unbelievable. So even if I hadn't made the final edit, I still would have always had that. But it was a fantastic day. I can't say enough about how kind they were to me throughout the whole process. And I got to
Jimmy. Listen to Jimmy, dude. Jimmy knows there might be one more season. And he's just hedging right now. You know what I mean? He could have just said it was like he's trying to go from that like extra to like maybe a little more than that.
Hey, Coach Beard did say it's definitely not over.
I mean, not only that, but what if there's the spinoff? What if there's the spinoff show? Jimmy's trying to get himself.
True.
Like we might not be.
He's trying to be a manager.
We might be getting Jimmy for 6 minutes an episode. Like Chuck, it might just be me here. It might be the 10-minute podcast or 10-minute show from now on.
Yeah, what's interesting is that they were going to have me be a player first and then switch me to be part of the staff. So I guess I'm like a scout. I think that's what we decided on when I was there, that I'd just be a scout for AFC Richmond. So that's my role. I'm pretty fired up about it. Chuck, we got to get to you though, because You're looking nice, of course. That goes without saying. But Folarin Balogun, we got our 9, and we wanted to hear from our resident number 9 about your thoughts about Balogun joining the U.S. men's national team because we were deprived of that possibility when you were not around for the other show, the emergency podcast. So tell us your thoughts, man. You got to be excited about this.
This is a game changer. We've talked about the U.S. men's national team in the striker position, the lack of options that are going to be consistent. Ricardo Pepi was hot for a hot second, but we haven't had a striker who can run the channels, who can hold the ball, who can score goals, also dribbling people 1v1. Now we have that. So it's not only that you have the tip of the spear, and that's a complete position because he's not even finished developing. He's still a young striker, so he has a lot to learn. But I think more importantly, the space he's going to open up for Christian Pulisic, for Gio Reyna, for Weston McKennie, for Yunus Musa, for Timothy Weah. There's a trickle down effect. So one, he's scoring goals and he's creating in the attacking third, but he's also taking the pressure off of Christian Pulisic to be the guy and the only guy when it comes to scoring that crucial goal or being the magnificent creator in the attacking third. Now you have that guy too. So you have someone who's going to be relied on to score the goals. So Christian can just be Christian now. And I think that's what's really exciting about Folarin Balogun committing to the U.S.
So Heath, Charlie conveniently left out that he's going to also open up space for one of our young players from the U-20s that will be playing in the 2026 World Cup. Just to bring back.
No, he's actually going to take. Not only that, he's going to open up space for them because we don't need the profiles that we have now because we got somebody that can do a little bit more. You know what I mean? Let's get someone's getting off the field. Chuck,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Jimmy. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to follow up with. There's an emphasis on getting Balogun the ball in the right spots, which is not. I'm sure there are plenty of games where we didn't have our number 9 touching the ball that much, and even Balogun when he plays for Reims, there are times where. I think the game where maybe he scored a brace recently or over the last couple of months, and he only touched the ball 21 times. So it's not even like his own club team is getting the ball. But to your point, and why we're all excited about him, is that he's making the most of those 21 touches. But how do we get him the ball from a U.S. men's national team perspective?
Well, right now we're playing in a 4-2-3-1, right? With the middle of the 3 is the 10. So you can get creative with that 10 spot. Christian Pulisic can play in that position.
Here we go.
You can Gio Reyna get in that position. Players who are comfortable on the ball. That's what you need there. Someone who can play 1-2s, who's comfortable on the ball and a threat. Yunus Musa could also be that player. So I'm excited because I think whoever the next coach is going to find that connective tissue. So it's not 3 machines that are running in the midfield, destroying everything, winning balls, and just playing straight counterattack or straight transition attacking direct to goal. It's more what we saw from Manchester City in the Champions League second leg, even in the first leg, controlling the game. We have players now that can control the tempo and dictate the game and not so much rely on sitting back and counterattacking. We have players who have quality. So let's show it. Let's put them in a position to succeed. And I think when you have a Folarin Balogun, you need that threat, because if you don't have a threat who can run in behind and push the center backs and maybe occupy 2, then it's not going to work. But now you have that. So a 10 will be that much more important when you have a Folarin Balogun who can pull defenders out of space. You can have players run in behind him, but also come inside and play and combine. So like, this is massive. I still don't think
Chuck, we got to take credit for it though. We got to give it.
We do.
We were the ones out there like doing the legwork behind the scenes to get this guy on the team. And then of course, Yunus Musa and Team Away and all those guys were helping too. But we put it out there that we wanted to sign this guy. We did it with our tweets as well. So I'm pretty sure we can take full credit. Chuck, I think you have to go because you're looking pretty nice. You got what? You got Europa League coverage today? What's happening?
Yeah, we got the Golazo show on CBS. So come check it out. The Golazo Network, the Golazo show. It's gonna be fire. Roma is taking on Bayern Leverkusen. They have a 1-0 lead going into it, and then you have Sevilla and Juve. It was 1-1 in the first leg, but that was in Turin. Now they're going to Sevilla, and it's a very tough place to play. And they're the perennial champions of the Europa League. Then you got West Ham. Can they get over the line and win Europa Conference League?
Yeah, I guess we have to do.
And can Fiorentina get back into it over Basel?
Yeah, well,
Chuck.
I'm very curious to see. Sorry, Heath, I keep interrupting you, and I'm actually enjoying it at this very moment because I stole your nickname as well. But can you give us notes on Jose Mourinho? Because I think he's very good in tournament formats, and I think that could help the U.S. men's national team. He's a candidate, I think. So let us know how he does.
Hey, you know it. Heath, what were you gonna say?
Yeah.
I thought you had a question.
I was just wondering, is that the full outfit for today? Or are we going to throw a little, we could put a tie on, a little bow tie, a little pocket square?
Today we're just going straight easy.
Just,
you know what I'm saying?
All right. Oh, I thought you were gonna stand up and give us some trunks.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, seriously, give us. Yeah.
Oh, you gave us. Oh, he gave us. He's
flashing
the watch.
I mean, it fits well. I'd love to see maybe it get dressed up a little bit. Oh, I like the kicks.
Wow.
I'd like him to dress it up a little bit more.
Nice.
Personally,
nice
you know, he's kind of anytime you go. Yeah, anytime you go with the suit and no tie, those kind of got that, you know, with those types of blues of like I mentorship coaching for just 3 easy payments of $99.99, and I could change your life. You know?
Hey, any way I can help, you let me know.
Yeah,
I love that. It's like a guy that just got off a long day of work and took off his tie and then put on his running shoes. There he goes, Charlie Davis. Everybody. Chuck, enjoy the Golasso show. We love you. All right, so. Heath, let's talk a little U20s.
Hold on. Before we get to that, Jimmy, this is great.
Whoa.
I had
wait. Go ahead.
Actually, I would love it if producer Des or Alex can throw up my poll at some point too from the other day from the glasses I was wearing. That was pretty funny. But this one, who's your favorite Ted Lasso character? For those of you that are listening to this in audio format, it says Ted Lasso, obviously as a character, at 36%. Roy Kent at 24%. Coach Beard down to 10%. And then the fourth option is unnamed backroom staff member number 12 at 30%. And that's Jimmy Conrad with the look of shock, closing in on Ted Lasso at 1,000 votes. So if you get on there, go into the polls. Yeah.
Can I take over Jason Sudeikis? Make it happen.
It is. This is just fantastic, though. I mean, it's a really well-named, unnamed backroom staff member number 12. I love it, Jimmy. We're all just being haters right now, so
this is great.
Allow you to bask in the glory.
My 1 second of fame. That's my new roll the clip. You know, I have my Mexico goal. I have my tackle against Messi, and now I finally found my third clip. And that's.
I will say, it would be nice if. You know, our parents, that is CBS Paramount Plus, would just start to drop us into a bunch of their shows, you know, just so we can come back every once in a while and be like, hey,
I saw you on Yellowstone the other night.
Yeah.
You look good on Yellowstone.
I think it would be, you know, they've got hundreds and hundreds of new shows coming out. It'd be great if they could just start dropping us into as like unnamed backroom staff member number 12 on all these shows. I would love that. It'd be great. Our producers need to make it happen.
We do.
On them now. We did the Balogun stuff. They need to do their part now. You know, we're doing the stuff on the field. They got to do the stuff off the field.
I'm in full agreement with that. All right, let's talk U20s. U20 World Cup.
Hey, real quick, Jimmy, before we get into that, one more thing. Not going back. There's a question in here. Damn, Jimmy, do you get recognized on the streets now? This is actually something I've wanted to ask you for a while because it was the same with me. You and I joined together at Kick TV. Right. Yes. You retired before me. And then I stepped in with you. And I found that the next 3 years of my life, it was equal to or more people recognized me globally as the guy from YouTube than the soccer player.
Oh,
was that full on for you of like, but I guess we had a crazy reach at the time. But you know, which you built over a number of years of just putting yourself out there. But I guess my point is was there a lot of times, because I felt this, that people didn't actually know you played? You were just Jimmy, the guy from YouTube?
Yeah, totally. I would say that when I get recognized on the street, I can tell right away based on their age what they remember me from. So if they're 40 plus, 100% as a player. Mm-hmm. If it's anything other than 40, then especially if it gets closer to the 20, 25-year-old range now, because they kind of grew up on Kick TV, they absolutely lose their minds because I'm just a YouTuber. Now I think I've rolled the clip and I've rolled the clip enough to know, you know, that they have some evidence that I maybe did something special once in my life on the field. But yeah, outside of that, it's mainly that. I will say before I went to El Clasico before the pandemic hit, and I got recognized it's so crazy when you go outside of the country and you get recognized as well. Mm-hmm. And all of that was YouTube. There's all teenagers, your early 20s, and it is insane how they react to you. You know, we just feel like normal guys. You know, we just love the game, and we were fortunate to have careers playing, and we have personalities now and platforms to showcase those personalities. But yeah, it's they just lose their minds, dude.
I know we're on a tangent, but that was a crazy thing for me of being like, dude, I worked my whole life to be a professional athlete, and within a year of retiring, I would be like, dude, you're the guy from YouTube. And it wasn't like, hey man, big fan of your career or great. It was like, oh, you put your life into it. And then I put 6 months into me just staring wide eyed into a thing. But you realize the generational shift and the privilege we have to be able to be on a platform like this and building an audience that shows up week in and week out here on In Soccer We Trust. It's amazing. So we appreciate all of you.
Yeah.
All we're saying is if you see us in person, just throw a little compliment towards our playing. They were average compared to others, but it makes us feel good.
No, I'll actually pay money. I'll Venmo people if they yell Johnny Bornstein at you when they see you in the street. Please. Like, wait,
anyway,
Johnny Bornstein.
I expect anytime anybody sees me to be like, hey, where's Chuck? Like, as like this big disappointment of like, oh no, like we knew you were going to be here, but we came here to see Chuck. You know,
we came here to see Chuck. Chuck's the big timer. He's the resident big timer. Yeah, that was fun. I like that tangent. That was a good one. So yeah, now we're giving everybody good ideas when they see us in person. And we know this is going to happen for sure, that when Chuck gets seen in person, people are going to ask him about his houses and how many boats and how many planes he has. And I can't get enough of that visual, just knowing that is actually going to happen in the future. So please make that.
He's going to get some stalker deep on the internet. Like, dude, I looked everywhere and he somehow hides everything from me.
I don't know how he does it. How does he escape Zillow.com? All right, let's talk. Maybe we should take a break first. Producer Alex, should we take a break first? Our first and I was gonna say only break because that's what I said for a long time. All right, let's take our first break of In Soccer We Trust. When we come back, we will finally do the U-20 World Cup preview, and of course, we got some other stuff to talk about. San Diego getting into MLS, and I saw Don Garber last night, and I'll tell you what he had to say. And we'll be right back.
Europe's most exciting title race continues with world-class clubs, legendary rivals, and unbelievable goals.
Brilliant! What a goal!
The Serie A lives here on CBS Sports Network and streaming live on Paramount+.
Welcome back, everybody, to In Soccer We Trust. Just want to let everybody know that it is back. Due to popular demand, UEFA are giving you a final chance to win your limited edition UCL, which is UEFA Champions League, Elite FUT 23 kits. Yes, winners also will receive a digital copy of FIFA 23, which will be a lot of fun. The UCL Elite FUT 23 kit final drop. Secure your limited edition kit now. A FUT package for the best of the best. Enter now at UEFA.com/elite. And for the YouTube audience, if you're watching, there's a QR code to enter. That's up there in the top right corner. All right, Heath Pearce. I'm Jimmy Conrad. We lost Chuck Davies. He's got cameos on this show that are about as long as my cameo on Ted Lasso. Let's get into the U-20 World Cup because there's a game that's happening this week. Our first game of the U-20 World Cup. The U.S. are taking on Ecuador. Ecuador beat us in the quarterfinals in the last iteration of the U-20 World Cup. So we got to get some revenge. They actually haven't been that great in qualifying. They're just eking through both phases of qualifying, but they're here and they've got some quality. But Heath, let's focus on our team. Let me say it like this, and I guess this is a question for everybody listening, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on your audio platform of choice. Make sure you drop us a follow on Twitter to let us know as well, ISWT Pod. What is going to be deemed successful for you? Because the best we've ever done at this level is fourth, and that was back in 1989. I think Kurt Onalfo was on that team. That's how long ago that was. What do you think is success? What do you want to see to measure this as success, given what we know, or given what we know we're capable of? Because I feel like we have a team that has got some ballers on it, and we'll get into some names that people should pay attention to in a little bit. But I kind of wanted to get your overall theme of what you think would be success, because we're the only country in the last 3 U-20 World Cups that's made it to the quarterfinals. So we're having some consistency, but we haven't gotten past those quarterfinals in the last 3.
Yeah, I think when I look at somebody like in Ecuador, that's your opening match. When you look at the tournament format, I think the U.S. will get out of the group, obviously. And then where you go from there, I think we need to be looking at a semifinal. Again, we can sit and say we don't have our best team and blah, 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 but neither do any of the other big countries.
Yeah,
they're not going to get their best teams, right? But what they're showing is that they've got enough. Again, to me, is not about, is our best 11 as good or better than the best 11s elsewhere in a World Cup? for me, and I talk about this all the time, it's about that reaching that critical mass of player development that we don't need every one of those players to become to make it to our men's national team, right? We don't need them because before we used to get a player, we get hype about him and we're like, this guy needs to be the answer. He needs to be the one. You know, you go back all of our strikers, you look across our pool of players that were just hyped from the moment that they got into the U20s or beyond. What we need, though, is to show that even if we are our second best 11, that we are able to compete. We are showing an ability, a creative freedom, a tactical awareness, a technical ability that competes on the same level. Now, you go into like Ecuador, they're going to play considerably different than a Slovakia, who's going to play, you know, Fiji, we'll call that the outlier in terms of where they're at in their player development in the country. But you know, Jimmy, how you play against the European teams different than a Hispanic team or a Latin American team or a South American team's different than Central America and some of the Asian countries and things. So it's different cultural styles of play, but I want us to be able to compete on that level and look like we can control the tempo. We can control the flow of the game, that we can understand moments, that we can understand tactics at a high level. And I feel like those are a lot of the things that I think are where the tests are won. I know it's a long answer, but I still want to get to a semifinal of a U20 World Cup and not do it on our U.S. men's national team historical process, which is like grind. Like, I want us to get to a point where we can point to why we got to the U20s, right? We could get to the semis. We could get to the semis. We get to a final. But I want us to be able to look back at that and go like, oh yeah, you can see why, you know, as opposed to being like, well, we grinded out a 0-0. We, you know, it's Portugal in the Euros where it's like, you know, 0-0, like draws all the way and winning penalties type of thing where it's like, I get that. I like that. That's always going to be part of the US DNA. But I also want us to be able to point to what makes us good and effective. And I think that's a big step.
Well, that reminds me of when I interviewed Jurgen Klinsmann ahead of the 2014 World Cup, and I gave him that would you rather, and you're speaking to it. Would you rather essentially get to a final, but kind of play to the stereotypes, right? Us sitting back, hitting them on the counter, using our athleticism to win games, scoring on set pieces, or would you rather, you know, maybe get to the quarterfinals and lose, but we were excellent in those couple of games, right? We demonstrated what you're discussing, which is, whoa, like we're putting the rest of the countries on notice. These guys are getting better, right? They're getting better. Technically fine, athletically fine, but tactically, they're starting to have that nuance and subtlety that maybe they lacked in previous iterations of their U20s, and now they're showing it. They're finding their plan A's, plan B's, plans. Like everybody's on the same. That's where I think I want us to go as well. So if we can demonstrate that, fantastic, and we're on the same page. Now, for those that don't know that story, I posed that to Jurgen, and he said he would rather go farther and play to our stereotypes and actually demonstrate that we're getting better.
I mean, that's
whatever. I put him in a tough spot. I was just being a dick, right? And I'll raise my hand and say that. That said, because
I do like binary questions though, Jimmy, because you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
I had him. And Sunil Gulati, the then U.S. Soccer president, was so pissed at me. He was like visibly upset in his seat. I could see him moving because I knew I stitched him up. And a lot of it was because Jurgen had promised, like a lot of coaches, they promise rainbows and puppy dogs, you know, when they take the job. And then when they get into the job, they're like, oh, this might be a little bit harder. I can't actually deliver on those promises. And so that's what I was basically stitching him up to do. And I got him. But Sunil was pissed at me. I got in the elevator with him afterwards, and he was hot. Anyway, that's time. That'd be story time for another episode. But I agree with you. Now, for everybody that doesn't know, there's 24 teams in the U20 World Cup. 16 teams are going to make the knockout rounds. So that means of the, 8 groups? No, 6 groups. You're going to have 4 third-place teams that make it in. All we really need to do is beat Fiji by a significant number. We should be one of those third-place teams, and it looks like we should be able to do that. Now, of course, no disrespect to Fiji, but they're still kind of growing their game, and it's not as strong as we are. Now, let's talk about players. Let's say 3 players, Heath. Let's combine on 3 players that we think everybody in our audience should be paying attention to. I'm going to go first with Gaga Slonina. I know that he's a pretty well-known name, but he played for the Chicago Fire last year. Chelsea came in and bought him for $10 million. He's playing for the Chelsea U21s, and they're very happy with him from what I understand. Got a couple clean sheets at that level. No stiffs with the first team just yet. I think he might be training with the first team at times, but I want to see him between the sticks because actually Chris Brady was the one that led us through CONCACAF qualifying to get into the World Cup, and Chicago Fire won't release him. So I want to see Gaga Slonina step up and be the guy that we're all expecting him to be. Now, usually when you're a goalkeeper, you're hitting your peak at what, 30, 31, right? And he's what, 20? So I'm very curious to see what his trajectory looks like, but this would be a great place to kind of really put his flag in the ground and be like, not only am I going to be, a force for my club team, but also for the full national team moving forward. I think we can all agree on this, that if you're going to win anything of consequence, any trophy of consequence, you got to have a hot goalkeeper. So I'm very curious to see how Gaga Slonina steps up. That's one of my players I want to see. How about you?
Yeah, I think on the Brady front, obviously not being released because of the fact that he's going to be behind Gaga Slonina, right? I think Gaga Slonina
that makes sense.
Clear number one. So
sure.
That's the one of the few that I understand not being released for. I guess in order to not go with the same one as you, I'm going to say Caleb Wiley. I think he's one that I'm really excited to see just because he's got some major upside that we haven't seen. Again, this type of profile makes you go, in the same vein of Alphonso Davies, where you're like, yeah, he could be a really good left winger, but he could be a really great left fullback, right? Where it's if you can apply at a young enough age all of those things that you need to be a committed defender, plus all those tools of comfort on the ball, getting forward, getting into dangerous spots. I'm not comparing him to Alphonso Davies because I think he's a generational player as well, as we know. But I want to see him against his age group, and I want to see him sort of show up as like not a breakout because we know about him more, but a breakout star of the tournament. He's one that I think has that level of upside. In fact, I think a couple of players in that back line have the ability to really show well.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this goes. Now, a couple people didn't get released. Jalen Neal from the Galaxy, up and coming center back for us, got his first cap in January. And then we have, who else can be missing? Maybe that's it in the back. So Josh Winder looks like he might be getting the start. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays. He's going to be making his move to Benfica this summer, moving from Louisville City in the USL. Another player though,
Gomez, he was also recently on the bench for the first time for Sociedad, continuing to play with the second team. But
right. So I think he'll be left back
on the door.
And I think Caleb Wiley will be in front of him as kind of our left winger until Kevin Paredes shows up from Wolfsburg. So Kevin Paredes and Raskas Pushtas from Hajduk Split, they both got called in, but I don't think they're going to show up until we get into the knockout rounds. That obviously will be interesting to see how Mikey Varas, the coach of the U-20s, balances all of that. But I think he's feeling pretty confident that he can do the job. Brandon Craig is also probably be the other center back, plays for the Philly Union. They really like his upside, and he's grown a lot. So we'll see how he does. Another one that I want people to look at is Daniel Edelman. Plays for the Red Bulls, really trusted by Mikey Varas in the 6th spot. And because I think we're a little thin in the 6th spot for our full national team, I'm curious to see how Edelman can do.
We're not light, dude. We got who my go-to is, dude.
Well, Aiden Morris,
Columbus Crew. Yeah,
I got it. So I'm just saying,
he put a beating on the Galaxy yesterday.
Yeah, I know they did.
He was good.
He was very good.
He's really good. Again, but he's one of those players where I'm like, my worry is, and we've seen a number of Columbus Crew players over the years as midfielders not translate to the national team level because they're system-based, they're really clean, they're really confident, but they don't have that next level to go like, I'm going to own a spot on the national team because I can do this at a higher level, at a higher speed, and still have the same impact. I think that.
Well, I think what I think about is if I'm Aiden Morris and I'm thinking, okay, I got to be Tyler Adams every time I step on the field. And there's just nobody like Tyler Adams. The guy just covers an insane amount of ground, and he's so good at what he does.
Oh, bro, I don't know, man. Hayden Morris is crazy right now, dude. He's in the box, and then he's in the defensive box, and then he wins balls, and then he passes, and he keeps it. Like, he is playing more 8, but I guess what I'm saying is he's playing 8 next to another 8 in Darlington Nagby. And so I still think that there's like it's a double pivot in a weird way because they don't have whatever. I won't get into the tactics of that, but like my point is that he's still doing a lot of the 6 work, and he's covering a lot of ground, and that 8 type of movement, his timing to get into the box is great, but he's also doing that defensively to go and put out fires and cover a lot of ground, block passing lanes. I'm hugely impressed. I don't know if that will translate.
Did he sign a jersey for you or what? Like,
no, I don't know if I actually, to be honest with you,
Aiden Morris is awesome.
I almost didn't even mention him I had that call yesterday. I almost didn't even mention him throughout the game. Maybe gave him 1 or 2 shouts during some like fill time, but like that to me is always a good sign of his quality. He's playing next to Darlington Nagbe, who we know is a fantastic player, but he's just got something. Again, I don't know if it'll translate. I don't. But would love to see if it actually does in the national team while we have this little, kind of window with Tyler Adams out. Sorry, I don't mean to go off.
Well, yeah, you take it to the full national team. Let's focus on the kids, man. We'll get back to the U20s.
I fight for what I love, Jimmy. I fight for what I love.
Paxton Aaronson's going to be out. Kevin Paredes is going to be out for the first couple games. So I'm really excited to see which one of the young attacking players that we have that can fill in that gap, fill that void, right? You have Jack McGlynn, the young left footer from Philadelphia Union, who's getting some valuable minutes this season. I think he's very smart, very good feet. You have Quinn Sullivan, his teammate, that can score some goals and scored a bunch of them in CONCACAF Championship. I like Diego Luna a lot. Cade Cowell getting the release to be able to play in this one. I think this could be a nice platform for him to really show all the scouts that are going to be there what he's capable of. And then Darren Yappy, I had the opportunity, as I mentioned in the last podcast, to sit down and talk with Robin Fraser from Colorado Rapids. Very high on Darren Yappy, just an incredible professional. Like, he's always has the growth mindset, always looking to get better. And I'm excited to see how his career turns out, but starting with this particular tournament. Anybody else that stands out for you, Heath, before we move into the championship playoff, where we just lost Zach Steffen and Lyndon Gooch as Americans?
Yeah, not good there. My only other thing that I wanted to add is, obviously, I think Darren Yappy will continue to get, maybe you put a Cade Cowell at the 9 or something like that at some points when you need to rotate, but it's going to be Yappy. Want to see how he challenges himself. But in the midfield, really want to see Owen Wolf. He's a player that, like, again, I've liked his maturity for his age on the field for Austin this year. And actually, by the way, him and his brother and Josh, his dad, became the first father-son duo to all score goals in Major League Soccer. It's the first ever where there's been two brothers and a dad, which is crazy. But yeah, he's another one that I think has some ability to, when I think about like young players right now and the highs and lows that you see, I see that with Darren Yappy, right? Where it's like, sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not great. Whereas like when I look at Owen Wolf, I go, oh, that's a kid who's already pretty steady that you can trust in a lineup. So I could see him having a good World Cup as well.
All right. Those are good shouts, and shout out to the Wolf family. Josh Wolf was my roommate with the national team and club with Kansas City for many years. So I'm excited to see how I remember when these little guys, Tyler and Owen, were like 3 or 4, which really, we already know that I'm super old, so we don't have to get into that. Let's talk about the championship playoff, though. Luton Town came back from a 2-1 deficit over Sunderland to win 2-0. So Ethan Horvath has booked his tickets to the championship final, and the winner of that will go on to the Premier League. That'll be incredibly exciting.
How big's their stadium again?
Luton Town is 10,000.
10,000. Love it, dude.
They're 90 minutes away from making it happen. Coventry, though, they outlasted Middlesbrough. Now, Borough, Zach Steffen's in goal for them. Came off his line, and maybe he could have done a little bit better. And
at home too.
Yeah, at home. My big concern here, I know that there's going to be some grief for Zach Steffen and some responsibility that he's going to have to assume. That's the rough life of being a goalkeeper anytime a goal hits the back of your net. But the fact that Middlesbrough, who scored so many goals during the championship season, couldn't find the big goals in the big moments, I think is more telling than a potential defensive lapse. And what I tell my goalkeepers when I coach too is that if you make a mistake, there's usually 3 or 4 mistakes that happened before that got to that point. Now, sometimes you are the one that created that mistake, of course, but there's usually some breakdown somewhere that could have really just eliminated that whole play. And so I try to take that pressure off my goalkeepers who are younger and a little bit more fragile than Zach Steffen, I would say. But
that was literally the case of yesterday with Columbus and Galaxy, which was like, Eric Zavaleta pulled out to the sideline, gets beat. Now the guy doesn't track a runner. Now he's on through, and then it comes Jalen Neal. He has an opportunity to force the guy down to the sideline. He allows him to cut inside, and then it's just he gets a good look from like 7 yards out with a full goal, and you're like, what's Jonathan Bond going to do in that situation, right? And could he have done more? Like, could he have laid out? Maybe, but like there was like 7 things happened before that could be prevented.
So we got Ethan Horvath in the final at Luton Town taking on Coventry. That is going to be a fantastic game, and looking forward to when that kicks off. I'm actually going to look it up right now. I don't even know when that kicks off, but we're definitely going to make some time for that. But yeah, we'll figure it out here in a second. Oh, it's actually this Saturday, 8:45 a.m. Pacific, 11:45 a.m. Eastern time. So that'll be a great one. All right, we had some midweek notes. You said you called some games, right, Heath?
Some.
You called one game. But
Yeah,
there were a whole bunch of games
game.
happening yesterday. Yeah. And I just want to give a shout out to Austin FC, who, speaking of Josh Wolf, was under the gun a little bit in terms of feeling some pressure, feeling some heat, not getting results. And they went into Seattle. Seattle's like the slump busters because Sporting Kansas City hadn't won a game yet. And they went to Seattle and also got a win. But Austin pulls out a big 2-1 win there. And then Sporting goes into LA, where I was last night, LAFC for Sporting Kansas City. And it was finished 1-1. And Denny Buwanga said afterwards that Sporting Kansas City is one of the best teams he's played so far this season because they actually try to play. But that doesn't always mean they get results. So this is going to lead ultimately into us talking about MLS player salaries in the next block of the show. But yeah, any results surprise you by any stretch of the imagination there, Heath? Outside of the one you called?
No, actually, Charlotte have been in a run of form. I think 3 wins in a row now.
Yeah,
in the league.
Chicago though. Come on.
Yeah, but like and the fact of the turnout that they had for a midweek game from their support, like that was my first time going to the lower.com field in Columbus, the new stadium. Amazing stadium, solid turnout, good atmosphere. But when I saw some of the others that like you never know on a midweek, right? And you and I both know what a midweek used to look like in Major League Soccer, right? Which was like you could see the tumbleweed. And you could hear like you
could hear the mob talking to her kid.
Yeah. Every time somebody yelled at you, you knew exactly where they were in the stadium and exactly who said it. You could read their lips when they were doing it. And now, like that commitment to showing up during midweek, and obviously there's some rivalry stuff going on this week and things like that. But I appreciated that, and for a team to go 3 on the bounce after like their start to the season was horrible. And they weren't just losing, they were losing bad in their first few games. And so now they've turned it around. I think that's great for that club.
Okay. It's gonna be interesting to see. I'm bummed for Robin Fraser. You know, you did the same when you go get coffee or you get to see any of your friends that are kind of in the trenches of the thing. And then they don't have good results. You're like, oh man, that kind of sucks. And so the Colorado Rapids lost 4-0 to Atlanta United last night. FC Cincinnati actually beat a pretty good Montreal team who hadn't given up a goal in 4 straight games. So some pretty interesting results from an MLS perspective. And we're actually going to talk a little bit more about MLS and their expansion, the 30th team in league history, to San Diego. And we'll get into that right after this break, producer Alex. So let's make that happen. Our last break of In Soccer We Trust. So come back and join us for the big finish.
Every goal from every match. The best way to watch all the Europa League action is back. Don't miss the semi-finals on CBS Sports Network and streaming live on Paramount+.
Oh, baby. Welcome back to In Soccer We Trust. If you're a US-based fan of the beautiful game, Paramount Plus is an absolute must-have subscription. From Serie A to the Champions League to NWSL, you got the Brasileiro and the Argentine League, the Women's League in England. It's all happening. And if you don't think it's for you, then this is what we're going to do. We're going to give you 1 month for free by using the code Europe. So go make that happen. Okay, Champions League semifinals, done. But you got a Champions League final coming up. That should be a good one between Man City and Inter Milan. We're going to find out the Europa League final and the Conference League final here pretty soon. NWSL is right in the thick of it. I saw the Angel City coaching staff and front office last night. And Kristen Press, I ran into her, Heath Pearce, at the FIFA
I saw
party.
that. I saw you took a picture with her.
With Tobin Heath and Kristen Press. And that was fun. Good laughs with those two. They are a lot of fun. And got to get them on the show. I think that's it. We probably need to give it to them to Attacking Third, ultimately. Right. Our sister podcast here, covering everything with the women's game. Drop them a follow. The Attacking Third does some great stuff, and excited what they're going to continue to grow and evolve into moving forward. All right. Before I get into the big party, I'll leave that for my final thoughts. MLS. I ran into Don Garber, so let me bring it back. Don Garber. I ran into the commissioner, Don Garber.
In a coffee shop or what?
No, it was at this party.
That's our new code word, Jimmy. Coffee shop,
Coffee shop.
Ran into him at a coffee shop.
Yes, so I metaphorically met him at a coffee shop that was the Griffith Observatory in LA at this launch party for FIFA, saying their new emblem for the World Cup in 26, and saw a lot of familiar faces, including Don Garber. And There's me with the trophy.
Is that actually you? That looks photoshopped. I'm not going to lie.
Not.
Is it actually you?
That's me.
Maybe it's just the backdrop. It literally looks like you've been placed into that.
I know, but it is actually me.
Now I'm starting to believe your story a little bit.
Look, you can see the thing I'm wearing.
Yeah, right? But anybody could wear it. Could put that.
I got that. I still have it on because I forgot to.
Also, like full kit wanker for keeping that on, Jimmy.
I just forgot it was on.
Impressing your kids with your invite.
Yeah,
to the VIP section.
Look at me, kids. I went to something important last night. But yeah, I just landed and got back here to the studio to do the show, and a lot of fun. But me and Warren Barton, who I did some stuff with in Qatar, we were peppering Don about some questions because Warren lives just north of San Diego and Del Mar. And
were you working? Was it like a work thing, or were you just?
I was there.
Like
I was there on behalf of
influencer,
FIFA. No, I was there on behalf
nice.
of FIFA. FIFA said they'd like me to come down and check it out. And listen, R9 Ronaldo was there. I wanted to get a photo with him.
How's his fitness? Like, does he look healthy or not? Like,
define healthy.
Yeah, like
he looks
like he's had a pretty large range of like,
I was gonna say he looks well fed.
There's R9 and then there's R11.
R9
like,
squared. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'd say he's in the middle of that.
Okay. Fair.
I don't think he's at peak where he could be, or where we've seen him maybe in the past. Okay. Carly Lloyd was there. Kristen Tobin, Owen Wilson showed up. I was sitting next to Cristo Fernandez, who plays Danny Rojas.
Yeah, I saw your picture with him.
Yeah, he's awesome.
I ran into him actually in a coffee shop in LA. That's
no, you didn't.
Story. I swear.
Can't say that now.
You should have asked him. You should have asked him.
But it was cool. It was cool to be there and to just kind of rub shoulders with some of the people, the movers and shakers of the game, especially here.
Cool.
Trying to get this World
Cup.
What
were you peppering Harbor?
I was talking to him about San Diego, and he's like, "Oh, that's where I'm going tomorrow."
Yeah,
and
there's actually a live event that's about to start any minute now.
Which is great.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about the Mansour family and the Right to Dream Academy and everything that's attached to what they want to do, and how the Right to Dream Academies would be a good, like near San Diego, near the border, a nice place to help kids become the best versions of themselves. I really love what Right to Dream is doing. So yeah, just a lot of positives around that. However, a little awkward that Landon Donovan, San Diego Loyal, USL, they're not really working together. But apparently, Mansour family reached out to the ownership group of the San Diego Loyal and said, "Hey, you want to partner on this thing?" And apparently, I'm going to use that. These are my air quotes. Apparently, the Loyal ownership group said, "F off." I'm paraphrasing here. Okay, it could have been something different, but yeah, I was just trying to get there as quickly as possible. And so once that happened, then I think that got broken off, and the Mansour family had the ear of the MLS brass, and now $500 million back in 2007. Heath, Toronto FC, they got in for $10 million. 2007. So we're fasting for what, 16 years, 17 years, and now $500 million for a franchise. Now I will say San Diego is a hell of a location, and I feel like every player in their mom is going to want to go there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big old expansion fee. Jeez Louise. But again, I can't wait to see. Again, I like the idea of, I'd been pre-MLS. I had been talking to some people within Right to Dream about goals that they had, right? There was some discussions of Washington or Baltimore. There was some discussions of any of the border territories, El Paso, places in Texas and the border states. And then there was the idea of, like, again, how do you implement Right to Dream? And for those that don't know Right to Dream, obviously it's a Ghanaian academy that's provided pathways for players to move on. I think it's a little bit tricky. I'm not sure how it'll play out in terms of their development of players that they then go on and sell them to clubs themselves through academies. It's a little bit of a different model than we've seen before, but they had the academy in Ghana. They then acquired FC Nordsjælland, my first professional club in Denmark. And then obviously you actually see a lot of players over time that had played in Major League Soccer that were just part of Right to Dream Academy as kids. And then they went to like either boarding schools or universities or got, scholarships, and really, really powerful program for historically African kids. Now there's another way that you can implement that and create opportunities in the US, which we know is a major thing and a very high pay to play, expensive sport. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what gets rolled out and yeah, what's possible, I guess. Jimmy, you're muted, by the way.
Yeah, that's the best way to have me. So what I was saying was that
yeah, I thought it was me. I was like looking around. I was just like, just act like I know what he's saying and just nod my head a few times.
No, it was me. It was me. I apologize for that. I went on a nice rant there, but no, I was going to say that I remember when Steve Cherundolo and I were sitting in the bus on the national team, and I was always like, "Hey, man, when are you going to come to MLS? You know what? When are you going to come back and leave the Bundesliga and come back and grace us with your presence?" And he's like, "Once San Diego gets an MLS team, I will come back and play in the league," because that's where he grew up. And a little bit too late for that. And now he's coaching in MLS. But I think it's going to be a prime destination for a lot of players to want to come back and have some fun. And then if you start to add all these other features, it's just going to make the club unique with the right to dream stuff. And as they continue to develop that whole area, I think it's going to be really special. I do think that the San Diego Loyal Landon Donovan situation is tricky. I'm very curious to see how they maneuver that, but it's interesting. So let's use this though, because what I find fascinating is that you have 500 million the Mansour family's buying in on this. That's just to get in. Then they have to put, who knows, I know they're going to use Snapdragon Stadium with San Diego State and anybody else that's using it right now. So they have a stadium, but I'm sure there's going to be some expenses to that. Then you got to build the team. And then I think what's interesting is because they did the roster money got dropped, Heath. All the money got dropped of like who makes what, roster salaries, every player salaries from the MLSPA. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that think us older guys should be bitter because we see players that maybe at our level making like 5-10 times as much as we were. I'm all for it. Like that's why we laid the foundation so those guys could go do their thing, just like we had other people lay the foundation for us.
And the people who want to mention us saying, "Oh, this is the day every year." You know, Andrew Wiebe had said this, like where former players get really, heads are going to explode because of whatever. Like in my mind, I'm like, dude, first of all, I'm super happy for the growth of the game because the next generation is only going to get better. It's providing opportunities for people like us. It's funding a job for people like Andrew Wiebe, who was never even close to making it to Major League Soccer, right? I think it's creating more opportunities for all of us who dream to play and or be in the sport. It's creating, that growth is a sign of growth for all of us. Right. 2026 and all these things are all measurable metrics that are providing us opportunities as former players to continue to be part of the game because it's growing and there's more opportunities for us. So I'm all for it, man. I'm
all for it as well. I don't harbor any bitterness with regard to that. I'm excited for the guys that are getting.
And sorry for the Wiebe stray. Wiebe caught a stray right there.
Wiebe caught a stray there, but no. I mean, you're using him as context and as a catalyst to get the conversation going. But what I find fascinating is that you're going to ask this Mansour guy to then, paying hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to get probably a training facility, right to Dream Academy going, the entry fee, stadium stuff. And then by the way, you only have a $10 million salary cap. I think something has to change, right? There has to be some linkage.
Well, shoot.
Where, I know they got some DPs that can pay above that, right? But Toronto FC is a good example. And we see their payroll on this thing, the highest in the league, but just because you buy fancy things doesn't mean it's always going to work out, and you're going to have.
Oh, it's not working there right now.
It's definitely not working out, and I don't think that's going to end well for a lot. But and there's a way to team build. I just wonder if we're getting to a point where there has to be like maybe you get rid of the DP rule. And I know it's probably a bigger conversation, and we're running out of time, and maybe we can get into it later, especially because I want to hear Chuck getting all triggered about it. But is there a way to maybe get rid of the DP rule, raise the salary cap to something like 20, 30 million? I don't know. But then there has to be a floor. Like you have to spend at least X. So there can't be some team spending 30 and another one spending 5. Like there still has to be some a minimal ambition from somebody. that the RSLs of the world, the ones that are in the middle of the country that aren't as attractive to the big stars that come over potentially. I don't know. I don't know what you're thinking. Like, so maybe it's like a 10 million ceiling or $15 million floor and a 30 million ceiling. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out a way that we can kind of level up. Because when I think about players, Heath, that are very good, that are getting paid. Can we just raise that middle class a little bit higher? So
I mean, the middle class is going up quick. To be fair.
It is.
Like, it's going up quick.
Is the quality of that matching the middle class, though? You know what I mean? I don't know, because I think about Ricky Pooch, right? Let's use Ricky Pooch. What if you could just have because a Galaxy could use 4 Ricky Pooches, but they can only afford 1 with the rules or whatever it is. But if they could go out and get that, maybe they could. They just got to get rid of Chicharito, and they can go get a couple more Ricky Pooches. But like I'm using him because he's still young enough. They're offering him money that's attractive to a guy in his mid to late 20s. I don't know. It's a big conversation.
No, I've got 2 quick thoughts on that. One, I do think that I would love to create a national product. This is my own personal opinion I'm speaking of here. You need to give me reasons to love and hate. Okay, I love Arsenal. I watch Man City play every single weekend. I don't love Man City. I don't love their how they've gotten to it, but I respect it. It is entertaining for me. When they lose, it makes me feel kind of good because it's like the bad guys lost, right? Because they're the big money, big spending, whatever. Right. But I watch it week in and week out because I absolutely love the way that they play. It is the epitome of the beautiful game. But I have every reason to love or hate them. And I create that dynamic with teams for valid reasons. And I think we've got to get to the point now with Major League Soccer that you have a reason to love or hate. Why do you love or hate the Yankees and the Red Sox? Why do you love or hate the history of certain teams within clubs around the world? You need to have that emotional, personal connection to them. And so I think we need to open that up so you can have somebody go and spin big. Philadelphia Union's not going to play by that game, right? Other clubs aren't going to play that game. They're going to continue to invest strategically or develop players. Right to Dream is going to develop players and put out a great product. It might be a selling platform for them, but they might also believe that if they invest early in kids, they can create a sustainable model that's still competitive, that's still competing for trophies or competitive in some way that creates an entertaining product for the fans in the stadium. And so I think that's one part. I do think a minimum spend is important. What I think you risk when you go to minimum spend is there's mechanisms that a lot of leagues around Europe have had as they started to lose domestic players or domestic jobs, is that protection of that under 23 player or the salary. We've obviously got a ton of mechanisms right now. I think that could also improve the quality and pay of the players. But you talk about Ricky Pooch, but next to him is Mark Delgado, and I don't know what he's making, but it's got to be close to $700,000, $800,000, $900,000. And he's a young American, been in the league a decade. And so I think that middle class has gone up, and I don't want to lose that for the sake of just putting in. You can lose that in a lot of ways because teams already go around that.
But isn't are we getting to a point? Because this happens all over the world where you pay $2 million for Alan Pulido, or you pay him $2 million to come to Kansas City, and of course he gets hurt, and that's unfortunate. That's part of it. But are we now into that phase? And I know you got to go, Heath, and so we're going to call the show. But are we not into that phase of MLS where you're going to pay a couple $1 million, and guess what? It might just not work out. Right. I mean, not everything's going to be a sure thing, and that's the risk of owning a sports team. That's the risk of any time you sign a player. It might work out, it might not. But I think that we need to start taking more swings in that direction because I agree. It could be a $1 million. Look, the Union are going to go with their sports director, Ernst Tanner. They're going to find that $1 million transfer fee signing that's a diamond in the rough and think that's going to work. You've got say a RSL that aren't going to spend 10, 20 million, but they might go find the $4 million player that they can bring in. That's their version of taking a risk. But you're going to get some of those wrong, and I agree with you. And so you've got to figure out a model that stays competitive, that gives us reason to watch week in, week out, that gives fans a reason to come to the stadium, that feels like you're putting the club at the forefront. So a lot of things to do, but I think all good signs. Good problem. All good signs. And I'm excited to bring on somebody that can help maybe explore this topic with us a little bit further down the road. We have to get some guests on. We haven't had a guest on in a while, and I got to get my drum out. All right, that's it. That's the show. So on behalf of producer Des, producer Alex, and I guess Charlie Chuck Wagon Davies, I'm Jimmy Conrad alongside Heath Pearce, and we love your support. We thank you for it. And we can't wait to see you on Monday. And let's go U20s, baby. Let's get
Jimmy, look at the last poll. Look at this last poll that we got. One more.
What's the last poll? We got one more poll. What is it?
Yeah, look at that. Who's the real Heath Pearce?
This guy or this guy? It's kind of a tie for me, but
it is. It's a really well done. We got some funny people back at house right now that are.
We do. They're really working it right now. I love that. Funny. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Later.